Welcome back to the Apex Archives. Today we're taking a look at the Romanian RPK. So for today's video, we have a Romanian RPK. The RPK is a squad automatic weapon developed during the Soviet era in Russia and eventually implemented in several other countries. And for example, this one, we have a Romanian one here in front of us. So the philosophy of the RPK was a little bit different than a standard light machine gun or LMG. So even though in the Soviet Union they were still issuing things like the PKM to their troops, they wanted a squad automatic weapon that could compare to that sustained fire from a belt-fed machine gun, but not be as heavy or cumbersome, have some interchangeable parts, and be issued to other regular infantrymen. And so the RPK was kind of designed, it was sort of a successor to the RPD, but not quite as heavy and intense as the PKM. So the RPK kind of serves as an intermittent thing in between like a PKM and just a regular AKM. The RPK is essentially just an AKM with beefed up parts in certain places in order to allow for sustained fire. So let's take a look at this gun here. It's very similar to most other AKs. As you can see, it has a longer barrel. The barrel is thicker, and on this front trunnion here underneath the receiver, it's thickened up to allow for more sustained rates of fire and a little bit heavier use. In addition, the receiver also does have a thicker width on that metal to accommodate more hard use and sustained fire. So let's talk about some of the differences between a AKM and an RPK. As you can see here, the RPK is beefed up. It's got a little bit longer of a barrel. It's got a thicker barrel to allow sustained fire. On the front end here, we've got a thicker receiver. It's 1.5 millimeters compared to 1. And on the front trunnion here, where the barrel attaches and interacts with the bolt to fire the round out of the gun, the front trunnion is thicker. It's got bulges on it to allow a little bit more rigidity and strength in that front trunnion, and it's all about that sustained fire. Now with the long barrel, you are going to be getting a little bit more accuracy out at longer ranges, which is a nice little bonus feature, but this is meant as a supplement to a squad of regular troops with AKMs. The cool thing about the RPK is that it's very interchangeable with an AKM, so it's easier to keep running in the field. You can interchange some parts, and it's very familiar to all the other troops. Anybody else can handle an RPK, whereas they might not have as much familiarity with something else. The Romanian RPK, the RPK 47 we'll call it, shoots 7.62 by 39 millimeter, just like the AKM, and accepts AKM magazines, though the RPKs are generally issued with 40 round magazines or sometimes these top loading 75 round drums. After the Soviet Union started switching over to 5.45, they also did the same thing with their RPK, which is commonly referred to as the RPK 74. When you just say RPK, that's generally referring to the 7.62 version. Alrighty, so let's talk about how to identify a RPK as Romanian. So the first thing we're going to look for, just as we would with any other AK, is we're going to look on the left side of the gun near the front trunnion. There should be factory and serial numbers as well, showing the origin and lot and manufacturer of this particular firearm. So one thing to note on Romanian RPKs is they didn't always have the factory marking on the front trunnion for the RPKs. The Romanian factory marking is a triangle with an arrow on the inside, and the tail of the arrow is attached to the bottom part of the triangle. Not to be confused with the Russian Shevets symbol, which is also a triangle, but with an arrow inside that isn't attached to the bottom, and it looks more like an arrow you might fire out of a bow, whereas the Romanian one is just like an arrow that points. So on this particular gun right here, we can see the serial number UE2400 and then a date of manufacture, 1984. You'll notice there is no factory marking on this front trunnion, but that kind of indicates to us that it is Romanian. The other manufacturers of these RPKs were pretty much just Russia, and they always marked theirs with the Malot shield and star logo. Now, other indications that this is probably a Romanian RPK is we can look at the laminate wood furniture. It's got more of a distinct dark color than you might find on some Russian stuff. Russian stuff is generally a little bit more red and blonde, whereas the Romanian stuff kind of always has a brown color to it. So not much to say there. The Romanian guns are generally always blued as well. Most of the Russian stuff, they would do a black paint on them for their RPKs, at least the ones that we've seen come into country in bulk. In addition, the font style on the Romanian RPK is the same as Romanian guns, whereas you can look up AK font online, and you can see that the Russian AK fonts on Russian guns is very different from any other country. Sometimes they're more rounded, they have different font styles. So if you look up, Tula and Ishevitsk and Malot font styles, you can kind of see what those numbers and symbols look like, and they're going to look much different from the Romanian RPK. Now, if you're in the United States and you're wondering, is my RPK Romanian? It probably is. If it doesn't have that factory marking on the side, that Malot shield and star, probably Romanian. This is by far the most common RPK in the United States. Not to be confused with the Yugoslavian M72, but that has a very different body and profile than just a standard RPK. Some of the features on the RPK include the standard AKM action, this golden design here in the middle with the receiver operates same as on a lot of the RPKs. We've got the safety selector. If you push it all the way down, it'll go to semi-auto. If you push it up a little bit more, it'll go into full auto mode. You can rack the bolt and carrier to chamber it. On the front end here, we can see some of the unique features of the RPK. We've got this integrated bipod. It's got this spring clamp in here, and if we press down on the spring, the bipod will swing out. You can squeeze the bipod, move it forward, and the bipod will deploy like so. There are two different versions of the bipod on Romanian RPKs. We've got some with the wing nuts here that allow you to adjust the height of the RPK, and then on some of the earlier models, they are just flat sheet metal. You can't adjust them. So a little bit of knowledge there. You can see the RPK has a longer, thicker barrel. It's got unique hand guards that'll only fit on the RPK. The gas tube and upper hand guard are interchangeable with an AKM. On the back here, we've got a rear sight that is adjustable for windage, which is unique to the RPK. Again, we've got unique front and rear trunnions to the RPK, but the bolt, carrier, and safety selector are all interchangeable with a standard AKM. On the bottom here, we can see we've got a Romanian military top-loading drum. They also issued these with 40-round magazines. Those are generally issued with RPKs, but like I mentioned earlier, these are interchangeable with the AKM. You can run 75-round or 40-rounders in an AKM, and you can run standard 30-round magazines, or 20s, I guess, if you wanted, in the RPK as well. They're all interchangeable. Then in the back here, we've got the clubfoot butt stock that's unique to RPKs, and this is designed in a way to allow for the squad automatic weapon roll user to shoot it like you would a normal light machine gun. So for example, if you were to deploy the bipod and be shooting this rifle just like a machine gun, you'd have your right hand on fire control and then your left hand over here like this to be able to help control the weapon. Helpful on 7.62x39. On the later 5.45 guns, not really necessary because 5.45 is extremely light shooting. Alrighty guys, that is a quick look at the Romanian RPK. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more information on this particular RPK, or if you want to find out information on a bunch of other rare and interesting firearms, you can check out our website, apexarchives.com. We've got a bunch of historical and educational information on there for different historical military small arms and US imports. A lot of cool stuff on there. Special thank you to our sister site, Apex Gun Parts, providing this. If you're interested in RPKs or similar military small arms, you can buy parts from them, apexgunparts.com. Thanks for watching, and let us know down in the comments what you'd like to see next from the Apex Archives.